in Vermont, legislators are aiming to codify abortion access. State lawmakers passed an amendment to their constitution, which will protect access to abortions and contraceptives. The Reproductive Liberty Amendment, or Prop 5, was approved 107 to 41. It will go before Vermont voters in November. And joining me now is State Representative Anne Donahue. Representative Donahue, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Can you talk to us a little bit more about this amendment and why it was proposed in the first place?
Well, it was presented as a necessary protection out of fear that the United States Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade. Unfortunately, it's a fairly deceptive proposal because it actually goes way far beyond Roe v. Wade. It's would lock into our Constitution absolute unfettered right to an undefined term, reproductive autonomy. So it's beyond abortion, but it also is absolutely no restrictions on abortion would be permitted under this amendment.
Can you talk to us about the significance, of this move, especially with the enactment of heartbeat laws in states such as Texas and the Dobbs case being considered by the Supreme Court?
Well, I think it's a reactionary decision. I think that it comes down to a fact that people are not willing to listen to each other at all anymore. And we have a significant group of Vermonters who are taking this very radical position and presenting it as if it's purely about rights. And if we really want to talk about human rights, we need to talk about all of the humans involved. But they're pretty dismissive of there being any rights at all on the other side of the question.
Yeah, and I read through that amendment, and I noticed it does not explicitly say the word abortion in it. Why is that? And also, can you talk about the types of consequences that vagueness of language could have?
Well, you're right. It does not use the word abortion because they wanted it to be broader, to be incorporating anything potentially in the future. It sort of goes, the sky's the limit. But what it actually also does is it puts it completely in the hands of a court or future court, because without a definition, that really leaves it unknown as to what it could incorporate. What sort of future, whether you want to talk about the right to a designer baby funded by the state, there's just no limit when you leave it undefined up for a court to decide. I think one of the scary consequences is that we don't currently have conscience protection in Vermont, and one could read an amendment like that to mean, and you can't have any, because that would interfere with a woman's exercise of her right if there is a hospital, for instance, who doesn't want to provide abortions.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. I understand that you actually introduced a bill pertaining to conscious rights. What more can you tell us about that and the status of it?
Well, I've introduced it several times over several different sessions. There has been no interest by the majority to take it up. And during the floor debate on this constitutional amendment, I pointed out that the failure to take up conscience protection before passing this amendment would really lock the legislature out of being able to offer those protections. So you're basically telling someone you cannot choose a healthcare profession unless you're willing to participate in abortion, because you will not be protected.
I'm curious, what are you hearing personally from your constituents about this?
Not surprisingly, I'm hearing a mix. I'm hearing people who've said, please vote against this, please, and who are very grateful that I did. And there are others who encouraged me to vote for it. And I've been really trying to explain to them, you think you want to defend Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was very clear that the state the society has an interest in a developing life, even if it wasn't willing to say, it's a life of equal value. This amendment says there are no rights at all that society has. So it's much farther beyond what people think it is, and that's my job now to educate them.
Yeah, very, very scary. We don't have a whole lot of time left, but I'm wondering, as we mentioned, this is going up for a vote to voters in November. What would be your message to them when it comes to Prop 5?
please ask and find out what it really means, because it's far more extreme than anything the other side is telling you. The sky's the limit, and you really don't want this, even if you support some abortion rights, unless you support up to 9 months, no limits, and unknown future.
Representative Donahue, thank you so much for your time today, and we will continue to watch this and see what happens. Thank you again.
Thank you.